Hey guys, today we have a full tang fixed blade hunting knife. Let's get into this knife. As you can see, this customer's knife is a hunting knife by Schrade. This is the Pro Hunter 1, made in the US with a logo from Mac Tools on it. We've got some sort of resin style plastic handle. Full tang, that's pretty nice. Little brass guard. It's a little grimy. We're going to clean that up. As well, it came to me with this leather sheath. This sheath is pulling apart a little at the seam. I'm going to actually glue that together for this customer. I won't even let them know about it, but it's the right thing to do. Before I mess around with this, let's get this cleaned up. Alright, I'm starting off with some degreaser, just general cleaner. I just don't want deer bits in my equipment today. Make sure I get right up along the blade edge. There's some corrosion there. I might take that off with a brass wheel. This already looks a lot better. This wasn't too bad. I'm just going to get in here. Cool. You can see all that green kind of grossness. Alright, that's a lot better. Okay, looking at this blade, we've got a concave ground, typical hunting knife. There's a little bit of a dip here. This is where I like to see a sharpening notch, but I'm not going to put one in today. And unlike my last video where we had the Schrade folding knife, this dip isn't bad enough to make sharpening difficult, so I'm going to just leave it as is. Coming along on this edge, I don't feel any rolling. There's a little bit of rolling towards the very front. No rolling on this side. Give it a 3-finger sharpness test. I'm going to guess this time where we are. That's pretty dull. You can see I can leave white indentations in my fingers without risk of cutting them. So it doesn't have a terribly obtuse edge. I can feel it when I just pull it once to catch, but I'm going to guess 500. We're going to get a 500 on the sharpening scale. Okay, so once again what we have here is my certified sharpness tester. So the way this works is as pressure is put on this little cutting media here, it's going to record the amount of pressure. The lower the number that you see here, the sharper the knife is. I'm going to actually test this one twice, once in front and once in back. Alright, I said 500, 469, that's not far off. Let me just reset it and we'll test it again farther back on the knife. Alright, I have another piece of media loaded in. We're going to test this one farther back, right about there. $700. Whew. Well, this definitely needs some sharpening. Okay, despite that sharpness score, I don't think I need to really take much off of this edge to get it really sharp again. So I'm going to start off today with my 400 grit diamonds. We'll get it set up in the wicked edge. and that's in there. I already have my angles set up to 20 degrees. I like going to 20 degrees with a hunting knife, and after a couple passes we'll know whether or not that is steep enough. Let's load up our 400 grit diamonds. I normally sharpen on a bench, which is a little more stable than this table, but for filming purposes I'm on this table. All right, I'm gonna go in very carefully, just looking at this all the way down the edge. And what I'm looking for is to see that I get edge contact all the way along, and we definitely do, all the way on both sides. So with that in mind, I think I am ready to start sharpening. I'm gonna just put a little bit of safety tape along this ricasso, just in case I slip up, which I don't think I will. Better safe than sorry. All right, I'm going to start off as usual, 10 on one side. Okay. Let me show you what I'm looking at. So in my last video, I used some layout fluid to mark the edge so that we could see where everything was. This time I'm not doing that, but what we can see is where the light from my shop lights glints along the very edge. And we can tell from that, looking right at the very tip, you can see right along the edge at the very tip, we're not making contact yet. So I will have to pay extra attention in order to get the edge centered. So I did 10 on that first side, we'll do 10 on this side. So what I can see immediately on this side is we do have contact all the way along the edge. So it is, the center line is just a little imbalanced this way, which is why I don't want to just do 1, 1, 1, 1 by doing 10, 10, 5, 5, 3, 3, 1, 1, 1, 1. I give myself more of a chance to get a centered edge. All right, I've gone through all my steps. I'm just gonna wash this a couple times, going one on each side. Okay, so we've actually formed a little bit of a burr. I'm just going to swipe this with my hand. I don't suggest you do it this way, but I just want to try something real quick. So feeling this already feels a heck of a lot sharper. I want to test the sharpness now. So let me get it out of here. Okay, here we are. We just did the 400 grit sharpening. That's it. Let's see where we are now. Put this right tip down. I want to see 350. Okay, that's... we might be done here. So I think what's going on here, you hear a lot said about a toothy edge. And this does have a nice working toothy edge. 166 is a bit ridiculous. I'm not sure I believe that, So I'm going to retest it because that's a little too good for just a 400 grit sharpening with no stropping. Okay, let's tear this out. Testing at the back now. Remember, this is where we hit 700 before. Okay. I said I wanted, what, 350? 466. So we do have a ways to go in the back. Up front, along this edge, we're pretty darn good. I'm still going to work it through a little. I'm actually now noticing some of these things you don't see until you started sharpening. We've got some little divots right up along the front. Now I'm not going to do a whole lot to them because they're so minimal, but I do want to get those smoothed. Okay, so I went off camera and just sharpened up this back half a little bit with the 400 grit. It's now matching the sharpness along the whole blade. So I'm going to switch over to my 600 grit and do my process all over again. 10 on this side, 10 on the other side. I'm right-handed. I'm very right-handed. That's why you see me taking what looks like more swipes on the left. Now I could do this all day, but I don't want to end up removing more metal than I actually have to. Otherwise, I'll prematurely shorten the knife. All right, I'm going to switch out to my 800 and then I think we'll strop straight from there. 800 grit, get all the metal filings and all right, on to 800 grit. Feels pretty good. Okay, so I just did my 800 grit. Gonna clean up my blade once again. It feels really sharp. Okay, I am only going to use the 5 micron today. And I'm gonna add just a little bit of diamond paste to it. You don't have to do this every time, but it's about time that I did. I like to make sure it gets a little bit worked around. Okay. Of course, first, I have to move my arms out to 22 degrees. We sharpened at 20. Strop at 22. Let's get after it. All right. That should do it. We'll clean it up and see how sharp it is for our final sharpness test. Okay, before we do our final sharpness test, let's take a look at this. You can see how much shinier the edge is. Got rid of all that gunk along the ricasso, the blade. I mean, the knife overall looks better. We got rid of all the little rust spots. We got rid of all the gunk. Let's sharpness test it. All right, first things first, we'll try just the tip on the anchor point. Okay, that's very sharp. That's a little bit ridiculous. Load it up again, make sure that's in the middle. Okay, we're gonna test towards the back more. This is where it's been duller the whole time. Line it up right there. This is a very sharp knife. 141. All right, let me move this out of the way. And just to be gross, we'll do our little shave sharpness test to show what that looks like. I'm not touching my skin and it's cutting my hair. Bring it down to my skin. This is a razor blade. That's really good, especially considering the whole thing's at 20 degrees. Okay, let's put this knife aside for now and talk about this sheath. Now, I don't want to do too much to it because it's not mine and it's not part of the blade, but I am going to run a little bit of glue in here and just clamp it shut. I think that's the kind thing to do for this customer. All right, so I'm just going to take some glue and work it in there. I don't need a whole lot. I'll clean up whatever spills out. And I personally know this customer, which is why I'm doing this. Anyway, I'll get this all clamped up and come back when it's done. And the very last thing I'll do is take some of this carnauba wax. Sorry, wax. Alright guys, there you have it. A freshly sharpened, now very sharp, Schrade Pro Hunter 1 with a little bit of work done to the sheath. I know the customer is going to be very happy. If you don't want to do all this work, send your knives to First Cut Sharpening. We make every cut feel like the first cut. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.